Wily Writers presents a dark fiction reading by author Loren Rhoads. Loren Rhoads is the author or editor of 14 books. Unsafe Words is her first short story collection. It blurs the lines between horror, dark fantasy, and science fiction. The story she's reading tonight is from this collection, so we're really lucky to have her. You can connect directly with Loren through the links that you find below in the description. Make sure you do that. And if you'd like to be notified when we post a new Wily reading, the link to sign up for our newsletter is also in the show notes. And now, let me introduce Loren. Here she is.
Thanks for having me, Angel. I'm going to read a story today from my book, Unsafe Words. It's called With You by My Side, It Should Be Fine. Tolly adjusted the correct mirror to catch the last of the daylight before he lined his eyes. Since the rats gnawed through the generator's insulation, he was forced to make up his face in natural light. The bedroom door creaked open behind him as Doug emerged, on his way to check the solar oven on the roof. Tolly said nothing. He'd learned it was better to leave the older man to his thoughts when he first emerged for the night. While Tolly had grown up on a diet of Suncrisp pigeon, Doug still craved the things he left behind. As if his dreams took him home, Doug missed the past most when he first got out of bed. When Doug returned to the kitchen to carve up breakfast, the roast pigeon smelled amazing. Tolly's mouth watered. He arranged his low-cut blue dress to better display the hollow of its thin chest, then let the smell draw him out to the kitchen. I'm starved. It's kind of scrawny, Doug warned. Rats got the other one before I checked the trap. He stripped the last of the meat from the bones with a scalpel. Silently admiring the play of candlelight on the silver in Doug's hair, Tolly wolfed down his share of the pigeon and licked his fingers. It's good. He brushed his cheek against Doug's shoulder. I'm going out now. Good luck, the older man said. Tolly wondered if he heard an accusation there. He knew he had to find a trick tonight. The cupboards were bare. He slipped on his pumps, then let himself out of the apartment and descended the 3 flights of stairs. Broken glass and fallen tiles cluttered the apartment building's lobby, slippery footing in his high heels. Tolly crossed the room cautiously. A broken ankle meant a long crawl up the stairs and nothing but pigeon to eat for longer. He craved applesauce. Better yet, he thought, canned fruit salad. The door to the street held no panes. Tolly pushed the revolving metal frame around and stepped out, combing a hand through his long black hair. The street outside was deserted, but not silent. A family of rats rustled in the doorway across the street. Tolly ignored them and got moving. He never carried a weapon. Experience proved that he was not a fighter, that a gun or knife would only be turned against him. Shattered glass or rusty pipes were always underfoot if he needed protection from rats. Tolly followed Jefferson Street up to the river, then lounged against the graffiti-scrawled marble of Citizens Bank. A fire several blocks away reflected off the low clouds. Tolly watched the lights show. And he worried about Doug. The older man had become more withdrawn of late. It hurt Tolly that he could not be everything Doug needed. Recently, he couldn't even provide a decent meal for the two of them. That had to change soon, or Tolly would need to do something drastic. Claws snicked against the pavement behind him, too heavy to be a rat. Tolly subtly noted the broken bottle at his feet before he turned toward the sound. Instead of an animal, he found a figure shrouded in a big black coat. Tolly leaned seductively against the cold marble and gestured toward the abandoned car where he conducted business. I'm looking for Tolly. The feminine voice rocked Tolly more abruptly than anything she could have said. She pushed her hood back. Close-cut, ashen hair accented her cheekbones. Tolly couldn't remember the last time he saw a woman. I don't do women, Tolly said. Try Fionn or Dev. She watched him closely. Aren't you Tolly? Yes, but don't waste my time. I have to get paid tonight, or Doug and I won't eat. Find Fionn or Dev. He walked away, but she kept pace. Fionn sent me here. I'll pay you, Tolly, if you take me to Doug. It's very important. The woman drew a handful of something out of her coat pocket. She opened her fingers to reveal a rope of pearls. Amused, Tully wondered, "Where'd you get those?" "From a friend." "They're worth more to you then. What'd I do with pearls?" She didn't withdraw her hand. "They're real." "So are these." He fingered the large square emeralds at his ears. "I looted the jewelry store on the corner." "So what? We can't eat jewelry." She whistled shrilly. The clicking of an animal's footsteps returned. Tully realized the woman had maneuvered him out of the reach of the broken bottle. Fear knotted his stomach. He hated the thought of losing his favorite shoes if he ditched them to run. A leggy black dog stepped from around the corner of the bank. He crouched at his mistress's feet, eyeing Tully with a toothy smile. "This is Onyx," she said. "Hold your hand out to him, palm down." Shaking, Tully did. Onyx nosed his fingers. "He's yours." The woman's voice was tight enough that Tully knew she was lying. Doug had told him about dogs. Tully understood exactly what this strange pair wanted with the old man. He decided to play dumb and stalk past them. "I don't want to eat your dog." "Hang on." She strode after him. "What?" "Usually I get paid with a can of vegetables. Spam if somebody's feeling generous. I even got sardines once." His heels snapped angrily against the pavement. The woman halted in disbelief. "Sardines?" Tully ignored her and kept walking. Shadows appeared ahead. Tully glanced unwisely at the rubble at his feet for a weapon. As a warning not to pick anything up, someone flung a handful of pennies at him. The worthless coins stung his bare arms. Behind him, Onyx growled. The woman whispered, "What's going on?" Tully faced a hard decision. Doug had drilled into his head that eventually someone would come to his rescue. Tully knew if he took the woman home, she would take Doug away. If he told the gang what she was, they would most certainly kill her, sooner or later. Doug would never have to know. As Tully struggled with the dilemma, the gang slunk closer. Tully realized he couldn't ruin Doug's chance to escape. "Shut up and act male," Tully whispered. "It's me they want. If you want to live, don't say anything." A male voice mocked, "Who's that, Tully?" Tully cocked one hip. "My trick. Leave him out of this. He doesn't see you and you don't see him, right?" "What kind of animal is that?" someone else asked. "That's his protection against being seen." Tully sucked in a breath. "Can we get this over with? I'm hungry." The men laughed. 5, maybe 6 of them, Tully estimated. He bit his lip, knowing he could still change his mind and betray the woman. The men materialized from the shadows to rip away his blue silk dress. Their leader stepped forward. Drew was maybe twice Tully's age, but something as terrible as the plague lurked in his olive green eyes. He traced a finger along Tully's collarbone. "You're getting thin." Tully admitted, "We've eaten a lot of pigeon lately." Drew brushed the hair from Tully's face and kissed him. "We'll make this worth your time, Tully." Eventually, Drew held a flask to Tully's lips. The shine burned some awareness back into his aching flesh. He swallowed greedily. "You're a real gentleman, Tull," one of the gang taunted. "Be nice," Drew hissed through bared teeth. "Tully's been good to us. Pay him." Canvas sack landed at Tully's feet. He heard the cans clank inside it. Hunger made him lightheaded. Drew kissed him again. "You're a good kid," he whispered. "Tell Doug to feed you better." Tully waited until Drew and his gang had faded back into the night before he knelt to open the sack. It contained a big can of beef stew, several cans of green beans, and 1 can of peaches. His mouth flooded. "Are you okay?" the woman asked from behind him. Tully flinched. "I thought you left." "I still need to find Doug." She shouldered out of her overcoat and wrapped it around Tully's shoulders. "Why didn't you run?" "What good would that have done? They know where I live." Tully clutched the coat close, his fingers clumsy on the buttons. "They paid me," he said. "That's all that matters." When he swayed on his heels, the woman caught him. His weight, slight as it was, sent them both to the pavement. Onyx crawled up beside them to lick Tully's face. Tully smiled at the woman. "Thanks. You probably saved me from cracking my head open." Let's get you home. She helped him stand. Even though he wore heels, his head barely topped her shoulder. He shivered when she wrapped an arm around his waist. What's your name? Tali asked. Angie. She whistled for Onyx to stay close. You're here to take Doug home, aren't you? You're another time traveler. She stiffened at his side, then forced herself to relax. Doug told you about that. When he found the cure for the plague, he expected someone to come after him. Tali laughed quietly. He'll bitch that it's taken you so long to come to his rescue. Although they navigated the moonlit lobby with no trouble, Tali faltered at the stairs. 3 flights up, he said. Isn't there an elevator? Hasn't worked since we lived here. He sank down onto the first step. I'll go get Doug to help. Would you? Tali was too exhausted to decide if she was lying again. He knew there was better than even chance that she would just take Doug and go. It'd be easier for Doug to leave if Tali wasn't there to say goodbye. It didn't matter. This was the right thing to do for the man he loved. Tali nodded at the left wall. There's a flashlight under that newspaper. Angie went to find it. What's your apartment number? You ask dumb questions. Tali wiped at the eyeliner smeared below his eyes. 3rd floor. It's the only place that's lived in. The trash in the hallway is pushed back from the door. You'll be okay? Yeah. He took off one pump and weighed it in his hand. The rats know I'll put this heel through their skulls if they come too close. Onyx should keep the wildlife away from you. Angie shuddered. She whistled for the dog, then climbed the stairs. Tali's vision blurred. Angry, he squinted until the outlines of the rubble sharpened. He wished she didn't ache. Doug would give him something to make it better if he wasn't leaving. When Tali woke on the Davenport, Doug was staring out the picture window at the derelict city. The distant fire reflected from his sharp features. It's hard to believe our world came to this, Angie said. It happened faster than you would expect, Doug told her. Losing 2/3 of the world's population does that. She didn't have an answer. Your research notes will fit into a backpack, won't they? Doug gulped from the jar of shine in his hand. And Tali? I'm sorry. Perhaps she was, but her voice held something ugly that Tali didn't understand. You'll have to leave him. Onyx can only travel with us too. That's probably best anyway. He wouldn't fit into your old life. Tali had heard enough. He swung his bare feet to the worn carpet and slipped into his bedroom. Tears burned his eyes, but he was too furious to let them fall. Why had Doug brought him home? Just to say goodbye? Why couldn't Tali remember being carried in Doug's strong arms? Why did this have to be so hard? Tali was pulling a clean dress over his head when Doug tapped on the bedroom door. You okay? My shoulder hurts. Tali wiped his face and straightened his spine before he pulled the bedroom door open to face the older man. You must have given me a shot. Thank you. Of course, Tali. Tali shook his head. If you can save those people, go. I understand. Maybe you can save my parents this time. And then I won't need you so much, he finished silently. He walked back to the living room to rummage in Drew's bag of food, looking for the peaches. He vowed not to cry, not to make this hard for Doug. Doug ducked into his own bedroom to pack up his notebooks. Once Tali had settled on the Davenport, can and spoon in hand, Onyx rested his chin against his thigh. The dog gazed up at him with round, innocent eyes. Tali stroked his head, marveling at the velvety softness of his ears. Angie said, Thank you for making this easy for Doug. You'll be happier here. No one in our society would understand your relationship. Which relationship is that? Tali's voice took on an unfamiliar adult tone. Doug took me in after the plague killed my parents. I was 4. In return, I get food for us, however I can. But you're right. I wouldn't want to go anywhere they don't understand that we take care of each other. I thought you were lovers, Tali supplied. I'm too young for Doug. He pried open the can of peaches, spooned up one perfect golden crescent. He closed his eyes to savor its sweetness. Against his knee, Onyx shivered, hackled up, staring at something that wasn't there. Tolly petted him, but the dog didn't respond. You were lying to me when you offered me Onyx, Tolly said. You need him to return. Yes. Angie sipped from her own jar of shine and had the discipline not to cough. I felt I had to bribe you with something other than the pearls. Onyx was all I had. As she examined the shine jar, Tolly noticed her long, lovely, unscarred fingers. He rubbed the white line that ran down his index finger and thought of other scars, unseen. A shadow shifted behind Angie. Tolly watched Doug creep out of the bedroom, a needle glinting in his hand. Unobtrusively as he could, Tolly slid his fingers under Onyx's collar. Doug jabbed the syringe. I try that again. Doug jabbed the syringe into Angie's shoulder. Startled, she let go of her drinking jar. It bounced off the table's edge, spilling shine in a fan of liquid. Onyx lunged, but Tolly hauled him back, despite the leather collar digging into his fingers. As Doug dragged Angie to the Davenport, he said, Relax, I've given you a tranquilizer. It'll keep you immobilized for 2 or 3 hours. I'm taking Tolly and your dog. He turned her arm over and rolled up her sleeve. The second shot is my vaccination for the flu. If it works, keep dressing like a man. Most of them can't tell the difference. There's a fortress of women holed up in Ontario. They'll shelter you. Onyx wrenched loose and circled the Davenport to lick Angie's face. Doug stroked the dog but didn't try to grab him. What are you doing? Tolly demanded. You have to go back. People will die. They've been dead to me for years, Doug argued. Tolly knew people in the past sent Doug here after the first time travelers came back and confessed they'd infected the future with a plague. He'd been supposed to study the disease, find a cure, and save the future. Then somebody ate his dog, and nobody else came. As if he'd followed Tolly's thoughts, Doug said, No one ever came after me. It's been 10 years, Angie. Where the hell have you been? The drug prevented her from answering. Tolly pulled Doug away from her and wrestled him into a hug, trying to soothe the older man's rising hysteria. It's okay now, Tolly whispered. You can go home now. No. Doug shuddered and stepped back out of his arms. Tolly stared hard at the floor to keep the hurt out of his gaze. I won't leave you, Doug said. Tolly frowned at him, confused and hoping so desperately that he hated himself for it. Your people won't understand our relationship, she said. They wouldn't. We won't go back to them. We can go back before Cheng Li and Ichiko first came forward. We can keep them from spreading the plague. We can inoculate your parents. You could grow up with them, Tolly. You could go to school. Maybe you could. Tolly held up a hand. Let's get out of here first. Doug nodded. Grab your jewelry box. We'll try to use the gems as money wherever we end up. And change into your exploring clothes. As Angie so tactlessly pointed out, the past was a different place. Tolly went into his bedroom and lit the precious kerosene lantern. He removed his smeared makeup. Then he put on his daytime exploring clothes, a ripped pair of blue jeans, and a t-shirt that said Glass Spider Tour on the back. It was his good luck charm. He looked slowly around his cluttered bedroom. The things he'd salvaged held memories, like the paintings he'd looted from the other apartments, but most of his stuff was worthless. He pulled a couple of dresses from their hanger and rolled them into a ball that he put in the bottom of a torn backpack. He added his jewelry box, tucked in his best pair of pumps, and slipped in his sketchbook. The rest would have to stay. When he returned from the bedroom, Doug frowned. What all have you got jammed in there? Tolly shrugged. I may have to work where we end up. He shouldered his pack, then picked up the forgotten sack of groceries. Onyx whimpered at Angie, but healed when Tolly tugged his collar. Dawn bled into the lobby. Crossing the room was easier now. Tolly seldom did it in daylight. In the street, Doug slid an arm around Tolly's shoulders. Onyx's mind will move us when I trigger him. Hang on to me. Always. Tolly wound his arm around the older man's waist and leaned his head against Doug's chest. And then the future was different. That's the end. That's from my book, Unsafe Words.
That was fantastic. I loved it. I loved it. Wow. Yeah, the way it unrolled was really nice. I didn't really catch on to exactly what was happening until right around the time you mentioned the time difference, the travel.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And then it was like, whoa.
I wrote it in the 80s, and it's the story that got me into Clarion. So it's like near and dear to my heart. So thank you
Well,
for giving me the chance to read it. That was
well,
great.
thank you for reading for us. Excuse me. Yeah, no, that was fantastic. It was a good start for kicking off our new Wily Writers reading series. So that's good. Everybody, make sure you check out Loren's website. And she does some really fantastic things. She knows a lot about cemeteries. And so if you go there, you will be able to get her book on cemeteries. Now, my cat is coming through.
Oh, they're all monsters.
They're all monsters. We love them. Didn't even read, and now I'm hoarse. I don't know what's going on with that. But thank you for being here again. And everybody, if you're a writer, you might want to check out wilywriters.net. We have a community growing there of dark fiction writers. And the people that we're going to invite to come and read for us are all members there. So check that out, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Loren.
Thank you, Angel.